Hey everyone, Mr. Toast here. Just a quick thank you from Mikey and myself. We appreciate the support you have shown and are excited to be bringing back new episodes of the podcast. We hope you'll join the Discord linked in the description below and enjoy the episode.
There's no way in hell we're being consistent.
What?
There's no
You
way.
can't prove it.
This is did we do the last one on a Sunday? Was it last Sunday or was it last Monday? I can't remember.
It was a day, for sure. One of those ones that
It,
ends with Y.
dude, they are like running together for me like so bad. I really want to to like go off topic immediately. And for our listeners, I sent Keegan a video the other day of me shooting a black powder revolver, and I really want to caption that video with that one unemployed friend on a Thursday. Because that is like the most accurate part of my life. Fake news, says AFK Gaming. It is not fake news. We are being consistent. We did 6 hours of prep yesterday to make sure that we would have an episode ready on time for you guys. We watched 3 movies to kind of give you an intro to this episode finally, and what me and Mr. Toast here are going to be doing. We are looking at 6 total films that are considered either underground or indie horror in some way or another, and are they not just that, but they are also they kind of hit on genres like traditional horror genres while also being underground and indie. So for the first part of this, we're going to be looking at 3 films that came out before the year 2000.
Indeed.
That's the caveat I had to give because it was just going to be like the past, but which it is like the title and it is the past, but technically one of them is in 1999, and then one of the other ones that we're going to watch for our next one is like 2009, so there's like a 10-year difference
Yeah.
between
We
between those
also
two.
largely wanted to split them up because in the past we've definitely noticed that like we've had podcasts where we've bitten off a bit more than we can chew and the discussion goes on a bit longer than initially intended. So for the idea for this one, we would do 3 movies in the past to give enough time to give a discussion for each, and then split it up for a present day you know, second part to give us more time, again, to split that up and give enough time to each of the films rather than trying to jam 6 movies into one discussion within like 2 hours.
Yeah, because we've done that in the past and it has not turned out for the best.
Yeah. We've also watched 3 movies that took us 3 hours to talk about, being our longest episode ever. So that's something.
Yeah, we'll see how this one goes. We should probably get into it,
Yeah,
just in
absolutely.
case. Especially because this first one, I already am gonna have a lot to say. The first movie that we started off with is one that I had seen before. This was Keegan's first experience with it, and that is Frank Henenlotter's first feature film that's not a short, Basket Case. Frank Henenlotter is probably up there with the top 5 weirdest fucking directors that you'll ever see in your entire life. The man's a ghost. He appeared. He did Basket Case. He did Brain Damage. He did Frankenhooker. He did 2 Basket Case sequels and 2 movies in the 2000s and didn't do anything else. And those Basket Case sequels, we will not be talking about them. We didn't cover them. So I just briefly wanted to touch on his other films. Basket Case 2 and 3 are much more campy. I I know that this is a campy horror film, which we'll talk about, and it's goofy and it's silly at parts, but I think that there's also kind of a sadness to it. Um, which in 2 and 3 it's mainly just like pure shit hitting the wall. Like there's just weird stuff happening around every corner. Brain Damage is interesting. Frankenhooker is exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah.
It's exactly what the title is.
You can you hear the title and you're like, is that what I think it is? Yeah, it is.
it is 100%. His the only 2 films that I haven't seen of his are his 2 that he did post the 2000s. I don't really know much about them, but yeah, he's had a very interesting career, a very small career, and, the reason I picked, this movie for us, it on one hand, you got it that it's a creature feature, right? We the plot of Basket Case involves these Siamese twins. I was gonna make the same joke that they make in the movie, and I cannot do that. for for our audio listeners, Toast's eyes just like lit up, and his eyebrows like took the escalator to the roof, which was his hairline. Like it, like he like was terrified there for a second. But no, it's they get separated at one point, and they were connected twins, and one of them being Belial is hideously deformed. Um, and the other reason that I picked this is that, as we will discuss quite a bit, um, this is a great example of doing a lot with a very small budget and making it work.
Yeah. I very much so. Like, I believe we were looking into the history of the film, and it was what, it was a $35,000 budget,
Yeah, yeah, it
which
was
is
insanely low.
minuscule for filmmaking.
It is, and that helps and hurts the movie because it is really cool to see like the things that they had to do to be able to make Belial come alive, especially with how low that their budget was. A lot of their budget did go to that special effect, and the acting in
And
certain parts of the movie.
there's some questionable acting.
I One of my favorite moments when we were watching it was whenever he meets the prostitute who lives whenever Dwayne meets the prostitute who lives in the building, and she's just like they're just having like a normal conversation. She's like, "All right, later, kid," and just walks away, and Keegan's just like, What?"
Yeah. There's also this scene where like he meets this woman on the stairs, and she starts talking about the person that lived in the room that he's renting. Uh like they're walking up the stairs, he's like, "Yeah, I got room 7." She's like, "Oh, awesome. There was this old lady that used to live there. She used to take care of the place." She gets like halfway up the stairs and runs out of things to say, and then just turns around and walks back down the stairs.
It is so ridiculous, but that's one of those things that you're definitely gonna get, especially with these like really low budget, and this being his first feature. I'm sure a lot of the people that he got to be in this were people that he knew personally, which is the case for like a lot of first directors. When John Waters was first starting out, almost every one of his first like really low budget first films, he had the same group of people that were like his close group of friends. When you rock with like an insanely low budget like that, you kind of got to make things like that work.
Yeah.
So before we talk about kind of the special effects and stuff like that, why don't you tell me, this was my second time with the movie, so I already really like it. I wouldn't have suggested if it wasn't something that I didn't really like. But what did you think? What are your thoughts on it?
I'd say I liked it, but it was definitely very different. In terms not only of like special effects like choice and stuff like that, but on top of that, like for a story, it's very unique in regards to being a like a horror thing. Um, especially like the whole idea of the mysteriousness of the beginning of the film, where like he's just we have our main character Dwayne who carries around this, literally it's a like a weave basket with a lock on it, and nobody knows what's in it. When he first gets to the hotel, they're like, "What's in the basket?" And he's like, "Clothes."
Close.
Just the mystery around it, and then additionally, once we've seen Belial in the basket and like what he's capable of, it's very kind of shocking at first, and then once you get
Mhm.
the backstory, it's even more like um just kind of like it's just kind of crazy. Uh it's definitely like I definitely enjoyed the movie, but at first I was just like, what am I watching? You know?
Definitely. It throughout it and the way it develops too, because the movie, and I told Keegan this while we were watching it. It expertly, and this is why I think the first one is so great, especially compared to his other films. It doesn't show its full hand right away. It doesn't fully reveal to you until the character's ready to reveal to you who Belial, who the creature in the basket really is. And it's at this moment where he's like feeling very like um alone, and he's kind of like he's drinking with the prostitute that lives in the building with him, and he starts to like empty his feelings out to her, and he's like, yeah, it sucks, like I can't even go on a date, like my brother in this basket over here, he keeps ruining everything. And that's like the big theme of the movie, is he's having to kind of run all over the place for his brother, and his brother's kind of like this burden to him, who was cut off of him when
Probably
he
like
was
9 or
younger.
10, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, and but it was long enough that he had already grown somewhat attached to him as a brother, and it was really fucked up, especially in the sequence where that happens when we were watching it. And Keegan even said when we were watching it, when they cut him off, they just throw the brother in like a garbage bag,
Yeah.
and Keegan was like, "What? At least like hit him with a shovel or something."
Yeah, they just cut him off and they're like, yeah, he'll probably die because he doesn't have like nutrients or whatever. But like, and then the fact that they don't think of him as being like anything besides like this kind of cancerous blob, to the point where they just throw him in a trash bag outside is crazy.
It is crazy. And Dwayne finds the trash bag, and he like takes it back, and they've had this relationship their whole lives, and it's revealed that the reason why they went on this murderous rampage is that their aunt, one of their only like connections that they still had, she's passed away, and they want to get revenge on the people that wronged them, the people that cut Belial off of Dwayne.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about Belial for a minute, because Belial to me is one of my favorite special effects from any 80s movie. He is so weird looking. Like it's such like an uncanny valley thing, cuz he kind of looks human, especially like in the face a little bit, but like not really.
Yeah, or I'd say early on, he definitely like like in the flashbacks when he's still attached to Dwayne, like he has very like human like characteristics and features. And then
Mhm.
after he's cut off, like he doesn't have that human look as much anymore. Which is on to say, but I mean it's definitely intentional, intentionally done by the director. So
I think he honestly like kind of looks innocent when he's attached to Dwayne,
yeah.
like a little bit too. Like he looks, but then whenever he's removed, he's like this murderous, like I don't know. There's another really cool part of his practical effect, and it is cheap because they didn't have a lot of money, but it's whenever he's like really pissed off, his eyes like light up, and Keegan goes, his eyes are literally lighting up. Like you could see like the light bulbs in them like getting brighter.
It's very
Which is
interesting.
really cool.
Definitely the baby Yoda of the early 80s.
I I need to rewatch this movie, and for our viewers at home, this is a drinking game for you that me and Keegan should have played when watching it if I would have known. And Keegan was the one that started pointing this out while we were watching it. Take a drink every time there's a hair on the lens.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's something that I wasn't even like intentionally like starting to do, but like there were scenes where like they'd be shooting and like you just see a hair like on the bottom part of the screen or like on the top right. There's even the part where like when like the detective first shows up and he's like, "What's this?" and he's like holding it in his hand. In the bottom corner of the screen, you can see a hair that goes over part of his wrist, and I'm like, God, they're just everywhere.
It's and it's one of those things. It's like, and it's the same with the acting. You're like, could they redo that shot? Well, they could, but what does that cost them in, like,
Yeah,
the grand scheme of things? How much time are they losing redoing that shot? How much time do they have to pay each of the actors that are involved in that shot? Is there a prop in it that got damaged? Is there something they have they don't have the money to go out and replace anything to buy extra time, so, like, if there's a hair on the lens, fuck it. There's a
yeah.
hair on the lens. If that prostitute, if she's not saying her lines right and she's being weird, she's just
Oh
gonna have to be
well.
weird. We're just gonna have to leave it in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
got to do it like a Clint Eastwood movie with that kind of budget. One and done.
Yeah. One and done. Can we take another take? Why? You wanna waste everyone's time? Um, I do really like the relationship quite a bit between, Dwayne and Belial. I mean, Dwayne really is just this, like, he's just like, I just wanna live my life, I wanna find a nice girl, I wanna settle down, and he's got this, like, mutated freak in a basket, like,
Yeah,
6 feet away from him at all times.
yeah. Like even to
Um
the point where like he like Dwayne like gets a date and then in the middle of it he just gets like a psychic connection. They have like a telepathy thing between Dwayne and Belial and he's just like, I can see you making out with that girl, bro. Like I'm freaking out now.
That's the other thing too that I guess we'll have to kind of address. We might as well rip it off now.
Yeah.
Is Belial is Belial wants to get some for pretty much the entirety. of-
You can't just phrase it like that.
what other ways is there to phrase it?
That's I you know what? That's fair point.
What does Hank say in Breaking Bad? Grow tumescent with anticipation.
Yeah, there you go. Uh
But yeah, it's very weird, especially because he's so freaky looking. If anybody hasn't seen Basket Case, just do yourself a favor real quick. Don't have to watch the movie if you don't want to. Just Google a picture of it so you know what this creature looks like in your mind while we're talking about it.
yeah. Just get an image for it, and then that's all you need. However, if you do decide to watch the movie, it's only about an hour and a half long, so you're not losing that much time if you decide to watch it.
No, and I would say it's well worth it. I mean, I think it's a great eh, showcase of special effects, and I think that the soundtrack in it, we haven't gotten to talk about the soundtrack yet, but I think that the soundtrack is absolutely killer.
Yeah, it definitely plays in that 80s synth, like kind of early on. But it's that synth that's used in like a horror aesthetic. It's got these kind of I don't even know the way to describe it. It's kind of like a new wave ish design, but for horror.
Mhm. There was, this one track that I was just sitting here, listening to. It's called, Dwayne and Belial. It's only 40 seconds long, but it's like it plays whenever I it's hard to explain. It plays at a point in the movie. Anyway, I'm bringing this up because I was listening to, like, the official, like, soundtrack on YouTube, like, that posted it. And when I started it, it had like 680 views, and now it has 703. And I'm convinced that all 23 of those are me because it's only 43 seconds long. And I'm like impulsive as shit. So like I probably did just keep like replaying it. But it's, oh man, the soundtrack just, it is so good.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that we're gonna kind of discuss across this movie and one of the others, where like the soundtrack definitely is very very good for the film. Um, so that's gonna like we're gonna reference that again later on for sure.
Yes. Shout out, we put this in the notes and I wanted to make sure that we give him a shout out. Shout out to the hotel manager in the movie. If you've seen the movie, you know.
Yeah,
He puts up with a lot of horse shit.
yeah. Uh, he runs up those stairs probably like 4 times in the movie.
Dude, for a bigger guy, he hauls ass.
Yep.
Like, oh my god, the one scene where like I can't remember. Can you hear that in my background?
Very faintly, but it's only when you're speaking. So what is that?
Uh, that is a trumpet, is what that is.
Hmm. You know what's crazy is like I was hearing it and I thought I was hearing that fucking song from Titanic. So
Maybe it could be. It but, now I lost my the one scene, yes. It's whenever, it's really early on whenever they're all, like, freaking out, and, like, he turns around, there's, like, a huge group of them, like, just people, and he goes, "Come after!" He's, like, screams at the top of his lungs, like, "Dude, like, this guy does not get paid enough to deal with this."
yeah. My favorite part is when he's starting to run back the stairs and like this isn't a hotel, it's a nut house.
This isn't a hotel, it's a nut house. It's a great line.
Yeah.
I love the actor too, and we looked up, like, several actors from, like, a bunch of these movies that we watched, we were like, "Huh, not in anything, not in
Yeah,
anything,
but the hotel
not in
manager, like, we
anything."
like looked at him, we're like, he looks familiar, and like he's not in he's in like one other movie, and that's it.
Yeah, it was like a weird I was trying to see what it was. It's like a weird yeah, I have no idea what that is. I don't even yeah, I have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
It and it's the same with, the guy that plays Dwayne. He was mainly in the Basket Case trilogy. He reprises his role as Dwayne in both of the, sequels, and he was in Brain Damage, which was another Henn& Lauder film.
Yeah.
Um, so let me ask this, what would you say since it is that time of year after all, hence why we're doing a Halloween special for our second episode of this new season. What is it about Basket Case that you think makes it scary?
I can definitely see the like horror aspects of it through one being body horror, like having a growth like that just attached to you. I know it's not done in a way where it's horrific for Dwayne who has Belial attached to him, but more so for like everybody, like the surgeons and people, the doctors that like look at it before and they're just like, that's a cancerous blob that doesn't belong to like that should not be there. It doesn't deserve to live. In that regard is one of the main things I think sticks out. And then
Sorry,
as
I was
for
yelling at my brother to stop playing the trumpet.
you're good. And then as for like a second part, I'd say whenever we have scenes of Belial like actually like during the kill scenes, um he is very much like this it's a very strange like predator prey kind of thing where like you kind of see like through his eyes and it's like stalking the person.
I also like a lot of the misdirections that they use throughout the movie and the question that repeats, what's in the basket, and then, like, several times when you're like, "Oh, fuck," like, they open the basket, and it's weird because half the time he's in there, and then half the time they open it, he's not, so it's really like a roulette wheel whenever the characters, like, open the basket in the movie,
Yeah,
and I think it just adds to the suspense of it quite a bit.
right. I think the suspense build up for a lot of the kills are also like could definitely be seen as scary, like not necessarily knowing like when he's going to strike, but you know he's going.
I think Belial when he's on his, like, little creepy, like, midnight strolls, when he's looking for women, I think that those are easily, like, the creepiest parts of the movie,
Yeah,
those 2 sequences,
yeah,
especially the one that plays out, it's like a dream. Like, towards the end of the movie, Dwayne is kind of seeing life through Belial's perspective, like, entirely. And Belial is hauling ass down the road to get with this girl that uh, not willingly get with this girl that Dwayne's been with throughout a majority of the movie. And Dwayne sees it like in a dream. And I was like, I told Keegan, I was like, you ever have that dream like where you're like running around naked? He's like, no, I've never had that. I was like, what? So if you're watching this and you've had that dream where like you like show up somewhere and you're like in your underwear or something, and you're like, where are my pants? Like say something. Say, I've had that dream because I'm telling you, like that is a common dream.
I've never had that dream. Still, no.
So he's like it's basically that setup for the dream, but or like that layout for the dream, but it's really happening and it's Belial's perspective and then it's revealed as that. It's really dark. The last few minutes of the movie are really, really bleak and really depressing and kind of just like hopeless in a way, and that's what I think, Henenlotter kinda missed with the 2 sequels. I know this was, like, his big underground hit, so that's why he did 2 sequels to it, but I think that the sadness in the last 10 minutes, especially when Belial and, spoiler alert if anybody hasn't seen it, they go out the window together and they die, and when they land on the ground, Belial is positioned like just so at Dwayne's side. So it's like how he was when he was attached to him when they're laying there together. I think it's such a great and like oddly poetic and beautiful ending for like a movie as cheesy and stupid as this is. I think that ending just kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, I can definitely agree. It's like literally we kind of just have this moment where Dwayne's like, I'm tired of this. We're done. Like that's it. And then in Belial's anger, they uh both end up going out of a window. And they're hanging on from the hotel's neon sign. And I think the two things that stick out from this are the fact that in that moment, Belial is willing to still kill Dwayne. But on top of that, we have the characters on the ground that are seeing it and are giving a subpar performance as actors. So, like, we literally have like this group of characters sitting by a car, and like one girl looks over, she walks up under, and then goes, "Guys, come check this out!" Like, it's a dude hanging out of a window. Like, this is a casual moment.
Yeah.
But
That the
we
no
ultimately
good.
have that moment where they both end up falling, and we see them on the ground with Belial right next to Dwayne in the same way that they were conjoined when they were born, as the credits start to roll.
And I think that that's just again, it's so weird to see such a beautiful, like, sad ending in a movie like this because the movie up to this point is so goofy and cheesy, and a lot of the lines are even really cheesy, and the acting is definitely cheesy,
Yeah,
um, especially from the main guy. Sometimes he can really go for it in a couple of the scenes.
yeah.
There's a part in the 3rd one, so off topic slightly, but in the 3rd one, Belial has children,
Okay.
like, and one of them gets squished, okay?
Hmm.
And, there's, like, a lot of them, but one of them gets squished, and it's supposed to be, like, a really, like, "Oh, shit," like, shit's hitting the fan moment, and it's the same actor playing Dwayne, he just looks over, and goes, "Oh, no." Like, it's so bad.
Oh Lord.
I
Um, I
I've
definitely
gotta
think
show you a couple scenes from it.
I
Oh, good.
definitely think this movie would have been better off if it didn't have a sequel.
Yeah, no, the sequels are wild. Like, I actually found out about this trilogy through the sequels through Watch Mojo because they had a video, the top 10 like most ridiculous kills of all time. And number 2 or 3 was from Basket Case 3. And it's this scene where Belial is like squeezing this cop and his head is like cartoonishly like squeezed into like this little bulb and his eyes are like bulging out. He's like, ah, like a cartoon.
Jesus
It is
Christ.
so stupid and that's what got me to watch the trilogy, and I was like the first movie, I was like, "Wow, that's really, really good," and I watched 2 and 3, I was like, "Yeah, those
That's something.
exist." Yeah, those exist. Um, so, with what we've kinda said, would you say that it's, this film's kind of would you say it stood the test of time or that it's aged well?
It's hard to say. It, like overall, I'd say it hasn't aged poorly. There are other movies that have definitely aged worse than it, but I don't think it's aged gracefully. It's kind of in a middle ground. Especially in regards to the CG that we totally talked about. So it's not CG, it's they have a moment, two scenes where they use stop motion for Belial to move like on his own. Um it's some of the stop motion I've seen, for sure. Definitely one of those.
Well, here's the thing, I think even with, as goofy as some of it looks, I think that it at the very least, it looks unique
Yeah,
and that
that's agreeable.
you could tell that it wasn't something that they were just, like, bullshitting, like, they really tried to do
Yeah.
as much as they could because I'm sure if they could, they would have shown him crawling around, like, a lot more. He really only moves around, like, a couple of times. Every other time he moves, it's when a character, like, picks him up and, like, sits him somewhere.
Yeah, or it's a first person shot where all you see is the hands.
Yeah, and I think that some of the, dialogue maybe not have aged the best.
Yeah.
Shout out to that guy in the beginning too. We almost forgot. There's a guy in the beginning that runs into Dwayne in like the opening. It's like a drug dealer. He offers him like literally everything under the sun. I need to find the. Let me hold on. I'm gonna.
You're gonna pull up the script and read this off?
Yeah, it's insane. He literally offers him everything under the sun. Where is it? Oh, I'm not paying for this screenplay. Oh, there it is. There's a PDF.
Hey, there you go.
Hell yeah.
You have to
I
scroll a bit.
is it was it later? Oh yeah, because it's when
It's
he's
after the cold open.
that's right. And he's it's whenever he's like he gets off the bus and he's walking down 48th Street and okay, here we go. Cut to he heads up 43rd Street, lady with a shopping bag. Wait.
What?
No, the guy improved.
He improved? That son
The
of a
line is
bitch.
only loose joints. Check it out. THC, Black Beauties, Coke Smoke, joints and bags. Check it out. That's the line.
Wow. That's unfortunate.
Well, shout out to that guy then for
Yeah,
going hard.
yeah.
Like, he literally named, like, everything. Like, it went on for, like, 2 minutes of him just naming every illicit substance that you could think of, and Dwayne's like, "Nah," and the guy's like, "Whatever, man." Just walks away. Like, the cop would be like, "Great. I'm glad that you have everything on you."
Yeah, right?
But, it's things like that that I think still makes this movie, like, rewatchable and, still adds like, some value to it. Does it need to be remade?
It's hard to say because the thing that is inherent with remakes is that something is going to change for the worse. You could make the entire movie better, but something in there may like is going to be worse overall. I don't think there's a way to please everybody in that regard. Um, I'd say if you were to remake it, I don't think you could capture the magic of the first one. To be completely honest, I don't think you could do it again.
I don't think so either, but I feel like if, like, a weird studio like A24 Neon got it, they could do, like, some kinda weird, like, body horror, psycho thriller kind of thing with it, and maybe just take it, like, in a completely different direction. Because I think the concept itself is,
Very unique.
yeah. Yeah, it's it's very unique, and it's something that I think can be done again, especially with, I don't necessarily want it to be CGI, but there are also ways to do practical effects much better
Well,
now.
the good news is about like practical effects these days are becoming much more prominent. I think studios are starting to see that like we're kind of tired of the excessive use of CGI, and when any time that that it's done, um I just lost the word. I've just used it too. What the fuck? Practical effects. Anytime practical effects are used, we like they're seeing that we are much more positive and receptive to that as opposed to just CGIing it because it's easier. Especially studios that CGI blood. Please stop doing that if you still think it's cool to do that.
I agree. I 100% agree with that. I know Rob Zombie had to do it for the Devil's Rejects for this one. There was this one specific kill, and he could not get the blood to work, and he was just like, "Fuck it," and he used CGI. And after he was like, "Oh, it looks so bad," but they did like 8 takes with like 8 different blood bags, and they couldn't get it to work. And he was like, "CGI it," and it was CGI is a tool, not a crutch. So
Yeah.
I think that a practical Belial enhanced by today's CGI, especially in like the mouth movements and the eyes, like they could give him very human-like eyes and make it like really uncanny valley
Yeah,
and weird.
definitely.
Um, but yeah, I would say um a remake if it was like done in a specific way, it would be really good.
Yeah.
Um,
I think you would have to get the right crew, the right people to do it, but I think it'd definitely be a an undertaking of a task.
Exactly, and I think that, like, for, all 3 of the old ones, maybe not Audition, we're gonna well, no, we are gonna, ask that for Audition, we'll be asking about the remakes, and out of the 3, I think that this one is the one that would be the trickiest to do
Yeah.
some kind of remake for, because one of the other ones that we're gonna be talking about, we do American versions of Japanese horror films all the time,
It's true.
and for the other, we'll talk about that one next and why I think a remake could be really good. Um, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about with Basket Case before we moved on to our next movie?
I don't think so. The only thing I'd say is maybe if you wanted to rate it 1 to 10, and then if
Oh,
when we get to the end, if we want to rate like what like our favorite in order of the 3 that we watched.
I'd I'd give it like a solid 8 on my scale. I rate things a little bit higher. I kind of just yeah. Let me. I was checking my letterboxd. 8. Yep,
Give it an 8.
about an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Yep.
I would give it a I go 6.5, 7. Like I liked it, but I don't think it was anything like that. Um, that like I don't think I could really justify going higher than an 8. Like there were good moments and everything. Overall, it's a good film. I enjoyed watching it, but I don't think it's necessarily my kind of film.
No, I get that, and I think that's a really big thing, and something that we'll see a lot with, especially horror movies. Horror movies are very, very divisive
Yeah.
in terms of what people get out of them. I cannot do. I don't know about you, but like Paranormal Activity and those kind of movies, people enjoy them. I cannot do them. Like
Yeah.
Paranormal Activity. I'm just like they are so boring to me.
I can definitely agree with that. Like for me personally, a lot of slashers I'm not really a fan of. Like we did our topic on Halloween last year, and I liked the Halloween movies for the most part, but you could not pay me to watch a Friday the 13th movie. I do not like them.
That's very fair. The only one I really, really like is, I think Friday Part 6. Part 6 is kind of fun. It's got that, Man Behind the Mask song, Alice
Yeah.
Cooper.
Part 6 is the first one where like Jason's like actually a like a paranormal entity rather than just a zombie pretty much.
Yeah, lightning strikes his grave and brings him back from the dead.
Yeah.
Um, So we kind of went off topic a little bit there, but not really because we are going to be talking about a slasher with our next one. Um, our next movie that we watch for this podcast is Sleepaway Camp, directed by Robert Hiltzik. And Robert Hiltzik didn't do jack shit. I, sh- I should say that, but he directed this and the fourth one. He hasn't had much of a career. I mainly picked this movie, and we're we're gonna talk about it for the last 2 minutes. If anybody has seen Sleepaway Camp, you know why that is. For everybody else, this is your one and only spoiler warning for Sleepaway Camp. Uh, we are primarily going to be discussing the ending and what it means for the entire movie.
Yeah. Because overall, largely across this film, like it's just kind of a generic slasher film. It doesn't do anything necessarily unique or crazy in regards to like kills or anything like that. So, um, this largely, I mean, it does have a change in context if you watch it a second time upon a first viewing. But overall, as far as just your like, if I want to sit down and watch a slasher, it's really nothing special.
Hmm. And that's the one thing that we talked about, and something that I want to that we're gonna hold on.
Yeah,
My brain is going
collect your
way too
thoughts.
fast.
Collect your
Yeah,
thoughts.
I had way too much caffeine this morning. My brain is like going 150 miles an hour. Okay. So something that we were talking about with this was whether or not the ending makes this movie. And I told Keegan, I don't think this is one where the movie would even be able to exist without the ending
Yeah.
because I just don't think it would work any other way. Um, the ending is definitely shocking. This is it really is like very generic for a slasher. I
Yeah.
mean, it really is.
It also kind of
It's your
leans into the to like a who done it kind of thing as well, to a degree, because we never see the actual killer like perform the kills. We just see the actions that they're doing. We see their hands, we see what weapons or tools that they're using in the kills. We never see who the actual killer is in the moment.
mm, we we're led to believe there's these two characters that are cousins, and we are led to believe that it is the male cousin that is the killer. They're both like what 13 to 15 somewhere in there,
Yeah, approximately.
something like that. They're supposed to be. Uh, and there's a um, throughout the movie, we're led to believe that it's the male cousin and not the female cousin, Angela. When in fact, one of the big twists, which is that Angela was the killer. The other big twist is that Angela was not born Angela. Um, there was this boating accident at the beginning of the movie, and there's this dad and two kids, and it's revealed that the dad and one of the kids is killed, and the audience is led to believe that the dad and the boy were the ones that were killed, when in reality it's revealed at the very end that it was the girl and the dad that were killed, and what, the aunt,
Yeah.
right,
So
the
the got like custody of the boy after the accident.
mm, and the aunt was pissed because the aunt wanted the girl, not the boy, to live, so she kind of forces the girl into, or the boy into this identity that and I'm gonna go based on 2 and 3. I'm gonna say that Angela adopts the identity because she does not change. Like, she's much older in both of the sequels, and she continues to be Angela in both of the sequels, so I'm going to say that even though the identity may have been forced upon her, she does continue to live with that identity in both of the sequels.
Yeah.
Um, which recontextualizes the whole movie, and Keegan hadn't seen this one either. This is one that I had seen, and we got about 15 minutes in, and
I spoiled
Keegan's
the
like,
fun. I deflated Michael live.
he did. He deflated me so bad. He was like, "Oh, is the reveal?" And he just said exactly what I just told you guys, and I was like, You shitting me?" I was like, "Why do you know that?" I was like, I was like, "You haven't seen this?" He was like, "No." I was like, "Why do you know that?" I was like, "That's such a specific thing to know." Uh, oh, we got a couple comments. Sorry, chat. I missed those. I'm a killer, killing the game, that is. Angela wasn't born. Angela seems very progressive for the time.
It was.
It it was. This movie is actually very progressive for the time. Uh That's one of the reasons I wanted to cover it, because the other slasher that we're going to cover on the next one, minor spoiler for the next podcast episode, I haven't seen it, but I know it also plays to a certain, I don't know if I wanna give it away. It plays to a certain minority. It's called Tragedy Girls, and it is a newer slasher that is also very unique in that way.
Yeah.
Um So, to kinda take just like, a little bit of a like, just a side tangent away from the reveal, because that's gonna be, like, the main thing that we talk about, you wanna talk about the curling iron when you were like, "What is that implying?"
Uh, it was definitely like a very strange moment. So one of the characters that has been kind of hassling and bullying Angela like throughout the entire course of the movie is eventually killed when she is by herself in one of the bunks. Um we see see her first off get absolutely fucking clobbered with a right hook, and then she's like stunned, has a pillow put over her face, and then all we see is Angela pick up a curling iron, and then all we see is the shadow of said curling iron move down, and that's all we see. And I was definitely just like, what are they saying here? How is this instrument being used for killing?
What is being it just caught me off guard because we were like, it is, like, getting towards the end of the movie, and again, the movie is only really impactful because of the ending. Um, so we were just kinda sitting there, just going through the generic slasher, and then that happened, and Keegan caught me so off guard because he goes, "What are they implying?" I was like, "Dude." Uh, so we already were kind of talking about both of these questions. The what makes 80s slashers like this one stand out, and is this movie only relevant because of the ending? I think just having, like, some kind of a unique quality is all they have to do to make them really stand out, because all of the ones that we remember are either because they were one of the first, or because they do something weird and unique. And like, Freddy, slasher, but he hunts you in your dreams.
Yeah.
Scream, it's a moving killer.
Yeah.
Uh,
Additionally, on top of that, it's more of a like who done it than anything. It's not like you don't have like a big entity like Jason or Michael Myers that like everybody knows like, oh, that's that guy. That guy's gonna kill me. Where some of them are lean more into this is a mystery.
mm. Which there's like other like 80s horror movies that just, other 80s slashers, I should say, that just completely fall by the wayside because they just don't do anything unique. And this movie, all it did that makes it stand out from all of these other ones is the director, the writer director, Robert Heltick, he framed the story around this twist and around this kind of character trauma that Angela's going through, and when everything is revealed at the end, you're the whole movie is just completely put into a new meaning for you. It's completely recontextualized.
Yeah. Um, which having that both knowing that before going in unintentionally changes the context of your viewing as well. So if you didn't know that your first viewing, and then got that twist and watched it a second time, a lot more of the details start to surface. Unfortunately, that didn't happen for me because I remembered the plot twist. So
Damn you, James A. Janice from The Kill Count.
god damn it.
We're pretty sure that's where he got it ruined
Yeah,
from.
I think I saw a dead meat episode of the kill count, and it flashback as soon as I saw like the characters. I was like, oh wait. So
uh, but I was trying to think of I lost my train of thought. I had it and then I lost it. It was there's like I don't understand what the obsession is around Angela in the movie for a lot of the female characters that like dorm with her.
yeah, they get very like antagonistic towards her in a lot of scenes. Like she starts talking to this kid named Paul, and they like kind of start hitting it off. And one of the characters is literally just like immediately like, why does he want to talk to her and not me? Like huh? But she doesn't want anything to do with him like before that, so it's just a jealousy thing because like, why am I not getting the attention from random guy number 8?
Mhm. That's what it boils down to, and it's so petty, and it's Angela's just like throughout the movie, she's very quiet. She's like very reserved. She keeps to herself, and they just keep like pulling her out of this, and it forces her into like this murderous mentality, and she just is like taking them out. And can we talk about the scene where this grown ass man beats the shit out of a 14-year-old kid, like delivering him
Yeah. Yep.
haymakers?
Like I watched the scene, and he literally gets this kid and starts going backhand and then front hand, and then he just fucking double hammer fist just slams down on him. I'm just like, did he just fucking kill this 14-year-old?
Yeah, King was like, He's fucking dead. That kills somebody." He's just looking. He's like, "You're ruining my camp, you little shit," and he starts beating the hell out of him.
Just
Not even the
blunt
right.
force trauma to his fucking rib cage.
Would you like to talk about the mustache?
Oh my god. Okay. So as we're getting closer to the climax of the film, they're the police start getting involved because of all the murders, and this officer shows up, and he goes in to check one of the bunks, and he's like, "Oh my god, I found one of the counselors dead." And he walks back out, and there's this close up of him, and he's wearing the fakest mustache you've ever seen on film. Because they had to reshoot the film, but by the time that they did the reshoot, he had to go do something else for another movie, and he had to shave.
The first time I saw that, it caught me off so bad because for me and Keegan, for full transparency, we're watching these together, so we're watching them on Discord on our monitors. And I have the Shout Factory Blu-ray of that movie. So seeing that on my 70-inch 4K smart TV, having his fucking lip stained with that brown like shit stain, I was like, "What the hell is that?"
Part of it's like
And
hanging off too.
that was almost as shocking for me as the ending. That was what I texted Brian about before the ending. Was that this for context? It's like a buddy of mine that I talked to about horror movies with a lot, and I messaged him about the mustache before the twist because the mustache was so goddamn ridiculous.
It's so out of nowhere too. Like they had to do this close. Like you're telling me that they literally had like no other option. They had to do this close up like right on his face to be like, yeah, look at this fake mustache.
Dude, I'm telling you, on that Blu-ray, you could see his pores. Like, it's just like painted on.
Oh Lord.
You brought this up earlier, so I want you to be the one to talk about it.
Okay.
The growl
Yeah.
during the reveal.
Um. So during the reveal, the character that Angela was like kind of crushing on, his name was Paul. We get the reveal that she killed him, and the counselors finally like see her standing there, and they're like, Angela isn't Angela, right? And for some reason in the reveal they have this like very like animalistic guttural like growl kind of that Angela is doing, and I'm like upon thinking about it, I'm just like, why did they choose to do that sound for for this reveal?
Yeah, it's like an animal.
Yeah, it just it's like this. I don't even know how to to go like full into describing it. It's just it's out of nowhere.
It is weird, and it's something that I didn't really, like, think about too much until you brought it up, and I was like, "Huh, that is a very, very odd choice."
Yeah,
Oh, excuse me. So,
yeah.
does this movie hold up?
Uh, yeah, I'd say so. Overall, like special effects and all that weren't like a huge thing for this movie. I will say that some of the like makeup that they do for some of the kills, like the one character that gets stung to death by like a shit ton of bees, like the reveal of like his arm, like all the hives and stuff that are like swollen up, like that looked pretty good. So in that regard, I think it looks fine. Maybe in um some of the like story stuff, minor changes here and there, but overall, I'd say it held up pretty well.
So that brings me into my next question then, a remake. What do you think about a remake? Because I have very strong thoughts on a remake of this.
I don't think it necessarily needs one. I think it kind of serves as a timepiece from the period.
I I agree, but I also think that if the right person got their hand on it, it could be like something like they could really take that concept and that twist and really run with it and make something like really meaningful and like something that like something akin to what get like the messaging in something like Get Out
Right.
or It Follows, something like that with like I think could deliver a more powerful message
A
if the
powerful
right.
and like kind of more progressive um message rather than just that twist that kind of like made you kind of gasp it back in the 80s.
Yeah, yeah. What would you rank what would you, so oh my god, what would you give this movie on a scale of 1 to 10?
So, as we already discussed, I do think it's a kind of an average slasher. It doesn't really do anything to be like, oh, this is a good slasher for like the kills or anything you're telling. But for that reveal, I think it definitely gives it a lot of points. I'd say a 7 overall.
We're about the same on that one, I give it like a 7.5.
Yeah.
Um, it really is, like, there's just a lot of parts of it that are very generic and just like, your normal douchebag characters in, like, an '80s slasher. Oh, but what about that head chef?
Oh yeah.
That
Uh,
head chef was a creep!
oh yeah. They a lot of implications on it's not even implications. They were like that was like
Yeah.
this far away from being a fucking lawsuit.
Yeah, the head chef, for the camp was very, very creepy, and I like when he dies, the one guy's, like, talking to the guy that's, like, next in line, he's like, "Oh, come on, it's, like, an extra whatever, $10 a week." He's like, "Oh, okay, I'll do the head chef job." Like, dude.
Right. I do think that the makeup and prosthetics that they do for him is really good too. Like the
Y
blisters and everything, because he gets a gigantic pot of water, like boiling water spilled all over him. And you see like blisters and these huge red marks all over his face and his arms. It looks pretty good.
it does. That's the other thing, a lot of the practical effects have aged pretty well. Um, this one doesn't do anything, like, super weird like Belial in our last discussion for
Yeah.
us to be like,
It's also like not really that overly graphic that you would think from horror movies. Like a lot of the kills aren't that gruesome per se.
"No, no, they're really not." It is more tame, especially well, that was because of a lot of the shit that was going down in the '80s. I don't know if you know this, but Friday the 13th movies, like, even though they're, like, as shocking and as gory as we like, think they are, there was a lot of them that was, like, cut.
Yeah.
like early on. Like they had a grudge against slashers. The MPAA had an absolute grudge against slashers in America, and the British Film Classification Board had a grudge against anything. They labeled them video nasties in the UK. Anything
Hmm.
gory, anything. Have you not heard about that?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's super cool. Yeah, so they were like banned. There's like a list of here, this is gonna go off topic very slightly. Um, but you can find like a list of the banned video nasties, and it's all of these movies, most of them are American that were banned in the UK. Evil Dead was one of them. Don't Go in the Woods was another big one. I Spit on Your Grave was another really famous
I
one.
actually I think I did hear that. I Spit on Your Grave specifically was like one of the big ones.
Yes, it was one that they were really, really, really not a fan of. Same with Possession and the Toolbox Murders. Um, Dawn of the Dead was a video nasty over there. Anything like that. A few of the Friday the 13th were considered video nasties. It it would they really, really had this grudge against anything horror related. Basket Case was a video nasty. I thought so. Seized for similarity to other slasher films, originally passed with cuts for cinema. Um, it was not released uncut in the UK until 1999.
Hmm. Interesting.
Huh. So I guess it does. But this one was not a video nasty. But again, it wasn't really that
Yeah. Well, as we stated, it's
drastic.
relatively tame.
Other than the shocking reveal that I'm sure Margaret Thatcher would have loved. And um, so is there before we move on to Audition, is there anything else that you want to talk about with Sleepaway Camp?
um, shout out to Luigi's Mansion. That's all.
That all right. It is in our notes, by the way. It does say Luigi's Mansion, not really a note, just worth a shout out. Uh, the final movie that we got into for this one is by the director Takashi Miike. Sorry, I am so sorry. It's called Audition. It came out in 1999. One of his other really really famous movies is Ichi the Killer. And I'm gonna kind of let Keegan do like the introduction for the movie for this one, but I just want to say before that, we kind of fell down a little bit of a rabbit hole when we were researching him, like looking at his
Yeah.
filmography.
Yep.
He's done like a shit ton of video game adaptations, like Yakuza, Dead or Alive, like just so many different video game adaptations, and he even did a live action adaptation of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Uh,
And from what we
he's
saw, it was like an average rating. It was like a 3 out of 5, roughly.
Yeah, it didn't have, like, horrible reviews. I don't know very much about the Diamond is Unbreakable movie, so if any of our viewers are like, "That's a piece of shit," just let us know that we're wrong.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
feel free to fill us in on the details.
but, Audition, I will say, not a piece of shit. Very, very good.
Yeah.
I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah. So Audition, I didn't really know what to expect going into it. Like I saw the box art and I was like, okay, interesting. And then kind of getting into the movie, like first off, the cinematography, like we have to talk about it. There are some of the best shot scenes for any movie that I've ever seen in this film specifically. Um we have scenes with these godlike transitions, one of them being two of our characters having a conversation in this diner, and then it cuts to a camera angle facing directly at one of the characters, and Mikey can attest to this. We literally were watching it and I'm like, did it just change restaurants? And then sure enough it changes camera angles again and we're in a different scene, and I was like, holy shit, that is like one of the best things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, this is genuinely a very, very well shot suspenseful thriller. And then it has a 20-minute, like, excruciating sequence of body horror.
Yeah,
Um,
that is the definitely the hardest part to watch, especially because of the sound design. God damn, I don't want to think about it anymore.
this one, like I said at the start, it barely made our cut, because it was released in 1999. It actually wasn't released in the USA until 2001. Um, it is it is underground. I would say that Takashi Miike's most famous film is Ichi the Killer outside of Japan. And I know that Audition for people who don't live in America. I realize that Audition is not that underground. It is over here.
Yeah,
Nobody
it's
knows what the hell that is.
yeah, like you literally we were looking at, or like Mikey had like most of the ideas for the movies for this list, and he like wrote down uh the 6 movies for you know our past and then for our present, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I've heard of Sleepaway Camp, and that's it. Like none of these other ones I've heard of. So Audition was being one of them. I was just like, no idea what that is. Sounds interesting. And I'm glad that we ended up watching it because it was a very very different film. In regards not only to the first 2 movies that we watched, but overall in terms of horror, this was very very different. For the majority of it. Um, So essentially, we're following our main character, who is a widower. His wife had passed away. 7 years later, his son looks at him and says, "You should start dating again or get married. You should remarry, because you look sad." Essentially, or like you look tired. I think that's the word he actually uses. Um, so they hatched this. He and a buddy that work in the film industry hatched this bold and fantastic idea to run an audition for actresses so that he can pick one of them and marry them. Like just this, probably. I think that's the scummiest way I could describe it. Right? I could probably
Yeah,
describe it scummier.
you probably could, but that I mean, it's pretty scummy.
Yeah.
It
Um.
it
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, the reason that I had picked this movie in the first place was I had wanted to get a foreign film for each part of this, and I had heard great things about it. I was like, I literally knew nothing at all about the plot before suggesting it, so it was a very pleasant surprise
Yeah.
for both of us.
But I think I don't want to over explain the plot too much. So
Mhm.
basically, the concept after they do the audition is he gets really attached to one of the actresses that auditioned, and from there, it kind of goes full on psychological horror from that point. It is very, very freaky, very like there are moments, again, this plays into the cinematography where we have scenes where our main creepy character is just sitting there or just standing there, and we are just like, holy shit, like this is like absurdly creepy, and it's just them sitting there.
Mhm.
um
It
Go
no
ahead.
good. No good.
No, no, you got it.
I was just gonna agree with you that there are a couple of shots like that in the movie where she's like this kind of ghost-like figure, especially when she's wearing all white, and she just kind of she just loses all emotion.
Yeah, it's like when she's not interacting with him, she's just like on like idle mode. She's just a zombie, just sitting there, not doing anything, waiting for a phone call. Uh, and it is, I don't even know like what makes it so creepy. It's just some of the subtle cues, like they have like her sitting there waiting for the phone, and she's just hunched over, and then you hear like the phone ring and you see like her get this like devilish grin slowly as she looks up at the phone. Great scene. um but it quickly evolves from there. to him taking her on a few dates, eventually going on like a small vacation, like a weekend little vacation kind of thing. And from here the movie completely changes. It's entirely different, where
Yeah,
uh go ahead. I'll let you take point on that one.
the first time that they sleep together when they are on this like weekend getaway, everything just kind of changes and becomes more dreamlike and surreal in a way. And there is this bag in her apartment that we are shown several times throughout the movie, and it's finally revealed what is in the bag. I'm not gonna talk about it in detail here, because I do believe it to be TOS, what goes down in that sequence. But it is very disgusting, and I felt like genuinely nauseous during
Yeah,
it.
I was definitely sick to my stomach for part of that.
And it's it everything just like develops in such a weird way, and he's like trying to find her because she goes missing at like when he wakes up after the first time they're together, she's like not there, and he's trying to find her, and he's just on this very surreal and dreamlike thing trying to find her, and he ends up finding not her but more information about her, and then she finally makes this move on him, and she is like basically torturing him in like the worst possible way. She even gives him this injection that paralyzes him, but as she says,
You can
it
still
will
feel all
make,
of his nerves.
yes, if anything, they're more sensitive. Yeah. Which is a just thinking about that little detail, that's really fucked up.
Yep. Yep. Uh,
uh,
it is grotesque.
it is an excruciating sequence that goes on for a very long period of
At
time.
least 8 minutes.
It um it, again, the that is I would say that's what made the movie famous for a lot of people is that sequence. I mean it her holding the syringe is on the cover, but
Yep.
I with even with how disgusting and whatever that sequence is, I think that the setup to it, like the first hour of the movie, the cinematography and the music and just everything building up to that point, it's slow,
Yep.
but it's done so well.
It
It reminds me of
really kind
something.
of plays out like a romance movie almost for like the first hour, and then you get that sequence after their weekend trip where it goes full on psychological horror, and then finally into like actual like torture.
Yeah, and it's like one of our notes is just kind of touching on that surrealism, and there's this part while she's torturing him that he kind of it tricks the audience in a way because you kinda think for a second that it was all a dream and that she wasn't really doing that, but it's him, like, kind of putting himself in this place in his mind to kind of take himself away from all of the violence that's happening to him,
Yep.
uh, and it is like when it happened, I was like, "Oh my god, so that was all a dream, like, he's seeing the future?" And I was like, "No, he's, like, escaping to, like, a deep part of his brain right
Yep.
now."
Because then we snap back to the actual final moments of the movie. Uh, oh my god, like it's thinking back on it, like it is genuinely one of the hardest things I think I've ever had to watch.
Yeah, I would say it's up there for me too. I would agree with that. Uh, it just man, and the acupuncture and just everything is it's a lot.
Yeah,
It is a
definitely a
lot.
lot. Um, were there any other things that we had notes on that I missed? Um, mentioned surrealism. Uh, I mean, yeah, we pretty much talked about everything here. overall, besides an ending, which I don't necessarily want to throw the ending out there because I think this movie is worth seeing for yourself if you're interested in any foreign films, specifically foreign horror, or even just like kind of surreal horror as well.
Y- I do want to try and touch on the cycle of abuse in this and
Okay.
kind of what that means for the killer a little bit. So, without kind of giving away the ending, because I agree, I think people should go out and see this for the first time themselves. I think that the way that the movie kind of shows this cycle of abuse and how the killer in the movie is perpetuating her violence, we get these flashbacks of her when she's much younger, and we see the kind of things that she went through. And again, it's one of the other parts of the movie that I would say is just as hard to watch as the others,
Yeah.
especially because when they flash it back, she's like maybe 8.
Yeah.
I mean, it is just it's one of those horror movies that is like horror in every meaning of the word, kind of like in like when last year on the last season when we talked about Tales from the Hood and it had that like different kind of horror to it.
Yeah.
This movie is that different kind of horror, I would say.
Yeah. I can definitely agree with that.
Um, so would you say that this movie needs an American remake or because there's like this is something that happens a lot of the time with Japanese horror films is especially with like The Grudge and Ring. Um, there's almost always at some point some kind of an American version. So do you think that an American version of this could work?
Absolutely not. I
Really?
don't think that there is a director that could do it justice, to be
Really?
completely honest. A large part of it is usually whenever there is an American remake of something, they take the wrong elements from the film. So they will end up making it like more grotesque and more gory than the original than it needed to be, and they lose the elements that made the movie kind of unique.
Yeah, I can agree with that. They do tend to do that. Like The Grudge, more so than The Tape, or not The Grudge, sorry, Ring, more so than The Tape or anything. It more so focused on the girl
Yeah.
and the things like that instead of the mystery and the suspense. I just think that right now, post 2017 in America, political. Not really. I was just gonna say that with, like, everything going on with, like, the Me Too movement and everything, I think that if the right director, maybe somebody like Greta Gerwig or somebody like that, if they were the ones to do it,
Yeah.
maybe it'd
I
be
think if
like
it were to be done, it would need to be done by like a strong female like director. I think they could do more justice than a male director.
I agree. I agree with that. And, we have a question, does this film stand the test of time? I'm gonna say, yeah. It hasn't really I mean, it's only 25 years old,
Yeah,
so
it
it's not
hasn't
like
really aged all that much. The oldest thing that you're gonna see in here is like a Nokia. So,
yeah. Yeah. Um, and then our last question. Keegan, would you like to read the last question?
hold on, let me pull up my notes. No, no, I'm good. We'll ignore that one.
Oh man. So I guess we should before we rank the 3 movies, we should give this one a score. Or is there anything that you want to talk about before we score it?
I don't think so. Again, I think people should just see it for themselves. It's worth a watch for yourself rather than just listen to two dudes on the internet talk about it.
No, I completely agree. Um, I'm going to give this one a solid 9 out of 10.
I was gonna go 8.5, so
8.5. So we're pretty close there. So our rankings should be the same then, right? Because even though they're like our numbers are slightly off,
Yeah.
unless what did you give Basket Case?
6.5 or a 7.
Shit. Okay, well, what would you rank them then? Because maybe I was wrong.
Um, Audition being number 1.
That's my
Um,
number one.
I
Okay.
would probably put. Oh, it's kind of a toss up to be honest. They're pretty close. I'd probably say Basket Case second, and then Sleepaway Camp third.
Okay, so we do have the identical list then. I don't
Yeah,
know why I was
it
gonna
could
say pretty much similar.
it could flip for the other two, like on any given day, depending how I'm
I
feeling.
agree, especially with that twist because that really does kind of make it like a completely different thing.
Yeah.
Um, before we wrap up, I kind of wanted to do something a little bit different. Uh, before we completely end it, and we were kind of talking about doing this idea a little bit last season, but we didn't really do it. I just wanted to let everybody know the three films that we're going to be covering for our next episode. That way, if you guys want to watch them ahead of time or watch one of them ahead of time, that you're worried that we might spoil like the bastards we are, you won't have to worry about it because you had already seen it. So next week we are going to be looking at these are all films that came out in from 2000 onward. We are going to be looking at Dogtooth, Tragedy Girls, and we are all going to the World's Fair.
Everyone's
Um,
invited.
everyone's invited. Yes, Halloween is 11 days away. Everyone's invited.
Yep.
Um,
And just a small little teaser for the episode after our next. It will be something involving something for the TV fans for sure.
Yes, yes, we've done video games and we've done some movie stuff right now. We're gonna do some TV. I guess that means in November we're gonna have to do some anime.
Yeah, I think it's required at this point. We haven't had an anime since Odd Taxi.
I think Toast is finally gonna pin me down and make me watch Cyberpunk Edge Runners.
About time. And then right after that, you're gonna play through the entirety of Cyberpunk, and then we do an episode on that. Snowballs from there. Snowballs for December.
Exactly. Do you want to plug the socials before we wrap it up?
Yep. So if you guys haven't already, join our Discord. Link will be in the description below. I'll also post it here in the chat here for the live viewers on Twitch. Make sure to follow the Twitter as well. Usually I'll post before we go live on there. I didn't for this one because I forgot to be honest. But you know, the next time.
Next time.
Yeah, absolutely. But appreciate you guys watching, hanging out with us, chatting, asking questions. Definitely leave us some comments on the YouTube video or on the Spotify if you guys end up listening or watching on there. Let us know if you've seen the movies, what your thoughts were. Give us some insight, you know? Let us know.
And if you guys end up checking out any of these movies, or if you check out any of the ones that we're watching next week and you enjoy them, let us know. We always like it when we turn somebody on to something new and they end up enjoying it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's gonna be it from us. Expect a new episode within this time frame. Audio
Yeah,
listeners only. I got my hands probably about 1.5 feet apart here. So but we will catch you guys on the next episode. You all have a fantastic morning, evening, noon, whatever. You know, if you're listening in the past, that's awesome. Appreciate that.
How are you doing it?
Yeah, let us know how you're doing that. But yeah, you guys have a fantastic day. That
Take
is
care,
all.
everybody.
Take care.